Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Balanced Fit and Free podcast. It's Ray Ann Mullins, your host. And like always, I'm so excited that you're here today. I wanted to use this opportunity to tell you all about the Authentic Awakening retreat that happened in El Salvador in November of 2024, just, about a month ago. And this is something that I always wanted to do. I've actually done a few retreats before. I've done one in the mountains of North Carolina. I've done one at Hilton Head in South Carolina, and both were great in their own way, but they were different than what I was envisioning. They were different. And so I wanted to do something a little bit more transformative, something a little bit more meaningful and something a little bit more scary, really. And what I mean by scary is I wanted to step outside of my comfort zone and I wanted others to step outside of their comfort zone and do something bigger together. And so one day, I've said this in other podcasts if you've heard it before, but one night, I was sitting watching TV with my husband and I was probably bored with whatever we were watching. So I grabbed my phone and I'm just scrolling through Facebook and all of a sudden there's this video of it was like a drone flying in towards some kind of retreat or some kind of resort or something in a very beautiful area. And there was these big tree houses and then a pool and it just I don't know, it just grabbed my attention. And I literally looked at Brian and I said, "Oh, I found the place I'm going to hold my next retreat." And he laughed. And I was like, "What are you laughing at?" I'm serious. So right then I clicked on the ad and I filled out the form that, information of what I wanted. And right then and there, I set the vision. Right then and there, I manifested this retreat. And it was about, I can't remember exactly the time, but less than a month. I had a conversation with the resort. I researched the area a little bit and I booked the retreat. And I have to tell you that that was pretty scary because I signed a very big contract. And at this point, had not talked to a single person about going other than my husband and other than just holding the vision. And so when I started talking about it, I started getting all kinds of signs that it was a bad idea. You know, it's almost like when you want to do something big, it's amazing how many people tell you you can't, how many people point out all the negative, how many people are against it, how many people um, really try to, you know, ruin the vision. And I could not allow that. So I dug in and I made it happen. And I'm super proud of myself. I'm not trying to be cocky. I'm not trying to be like weird about it. I'm just saying I'm proud of myself because hearing all the people tell me all the reasons I shouldn't do it, I could have very easily allowed that to stop my vision. Fortunately, I was stuck in a contract, so I couldn't get out of it. But more importantly, I believed deep inside of me that it was possible. And now that I'm on the other side of it, I'm so grateful and so thankful that I didn't allow other people's fear to stop me because I knew it was possible and I just proved that it was possible and that I'm super excited to do it again. And I will tell you about doing it again later. But first, let me tell you about the retreat itself. First of all, the location couldn't have been more perfect, to be honest. I'm sure there's other amazing places, and I'm going to research those as well for other dates. But this particular location, there's kind of a funny backstory to it. I, I told you I saw the location on a video, which got my attention. It just felt right. I can't tell you why. I don't know. I saw it and I instantly knew, almost as if I'd been there, or almost as if someone gave me the message, right? And so I booked the place without even thinking about this at all. And I get this message from my sister, my half sister. So we have the same dad, different moms. And our dad passed away in 2009. And even though I'm not super close in location, as we've gotten older, we've gotten closer in our relationship, although it is still hard. She's younger than me. She has a baby. Like we're kind of at different points in our life. And we always really have been because I'm 11 years older. And so when I was younger and having kids and kind of going through the trenches of being a parent, she was young in college doing all these amazing things. And one of the things that she did, and I knew about it, but it didn't register in my head. I'm kind of embarrassed to say that, but she has started a company called Ciudad de Los Angeles, something like that. I probably said it terribly. But basically, it's a nonprofit organization who helps communities in places like El Salvador. And that's actually where she started. In fact, she lived there in El Salvador where this retreat was. And it was just a short distance actually away from where the retreat center is. So when I heard that, there was a part of me that said, there's no coincidences. Like I told you, I felt like it was a message. I told you, I felt like I had that feeling of like I had to be there. And I don't know, it just depends on what you believe in, but I do feel like, was it our dad? What was it? Was it God? Was it whatever? Something connected me to that area, which she was already connected to. And now I'm in the process of helping connect the retreat center, this Mazada, with the organization to help build the awareness of her organization, which I think is super awesome. Very, very excited of what can happen there. And that is just a side story. That's just something that it didn't even come into my actual, conscious awareness until after the fact. Anyway, the place. El Salvador, first of all, if you don't know, has a very, very grim background. They were at one point the murder capital of the world. Yeah. So when people started hearing me say, I'm having a retreat in El Salvador, people looked at me like I was the biggest idiot in the world, right? They're like, why in the world would you go there? So my response to that is, well, actually, I did some research, and there is a new president within the last 5 years in El Salvador who has completely done a 180 in the country, has gotten the gangs out of the streets, has taken control, and it is now one of the safest places to go. And so the poor country, they are still having to combat their history, right? They have to let people realize that it's safe to go there now. And one thing that made me feel super safe is that I hired a retreat manager. Actually, she comes like with the venue, and her name's Tati, and she is now one of my friends. Like actually, like we message each other almost every day. She's such a joy and definitely somebody who, if she comes to the United States, will come see me. Like we've made a true friendship. And so we she had told me that, she's in her 30s. I don't even really know. I didn't ask, but she now lives on her own, and that would have never been allowed had things not changed in the country. So the fact that this young woman moved out of her parents' house into her own place as a female and feels completely safe to live on her own, has a job on her own, drives back and forth from her town to the resort. I keep calling it a resort. It's actually an anti-resort, which means not a resort, retreat center venue. She feels completely safe, has had no problems, and she's personally seen the change into the country. So this gave me a lot of comfort knowing that it really was going to be safe. Now, I will tell you, I've been there twice now. I got to go on a pre-retreat visit. So when you sign a contract like that, they give you a couple free nights. So Brian and I packed our bags, flew down, and from the moment we entered the country until the moment we left, we felt completely safe. We felt um, the feeling that you get when you go to a different country that doesn't have everything that we have in the United States. So tiny bit of culture shock, but not so much where I didn't enjoy myself. I loved it. I loved the first trip, and now after being a second time, I absolutely cannot wait to go back. And I have to tell you, El Salvador itself has never been a country that I would put on my bucket list. It's never been a place that I'm like, man, I can't wait to go to El Salvador. It's totally not. It's just not. And I think that's what made it even more surprising and even more fun is that here was this unexpected gem that we ran across and that I feel very connected to now. And also along with my sister's connection, it just really feels meant to be. And the other joke is, they teased me a lot at Mazada, the venue, because I really like Latin music. So I was like dancing the whole time. And I love to speak Spanish. I actually was a Spanish minor in college. So I started speaking Spanish or learning Spanish, I should say, when I was in seventh grade. We had to pick a language. I picked Spanish and I fell in love with it. And I did it all the way through college. I had so much credits that I made it my minor. And I was actually going to go to Spain to an immersion program my senior year of college, but I met somebody named Brian. And at the time, I couldn't imagine leaving for 6 months to go away to Spain to learn Spanish more. So I didn't. And since then, I basically dropped Spanish. So, once you learn something like that, it's in there. So when I got to Mazada, I understand what they're saying to me. I just don't do a great job telling them back what I need in Spanish. Fortunately, they all know English super well. But it was really fun listening to them. And so they would tease me about being Latina. And so maybe El Salvador was in my book all along, in my cards. So the retreat, I had 10 people go with me. We had an incredible time. What happened is, I'll give you the kind of quickly day by day schedule and how it went and what went well. What I will not tell you is some of the sacred, secret events that we did, not only because we bonded and agreed that what happened in El Salvador stayed in El Salvador. Not quite like Vegas, but kind of like Vegas, minus the gambling and drinking. But people were able to open up. And so we agreed that that's all confidential. And that is for a reason, is so that people can truly be their authentic, true self in a safe space with other people seeing them. So what I won't tell you in this episode is about, some of those things that we talked about. I'm also not going to explain what the workshops were or some of the exercises that we did, because if you decide to go, I don't want to ruin it for you. But also because it was really private. Okay. But what we did is the first day, Brian and I actually went, we went a day ahead to get prepared. I had some goodie bags and some things that I put together. So I wanted to have time to do that before we went. And so we did that. We had a great night, settled in. I got up and got yoga in the morning, had a great breakfast, got prepared, couldn't wait to start the event. And so when we did, once we got started, everybody started rolling in on Monday afternoon. And unfortunately, things happen. The very first day was the only day, but it rained. It rained and it rained, and people's flights were delayed and people were not there on time. And so my whole vision the very first night basically went to crap. So I was a little disappointed. We had a candlelight dinner the first night on the beach with a bonfire following, where I have a very sacred, special bonfire ceremony that we were going to do. But because of the rain, our candlelight dinner got, moved in. We were still outside because everything there is outside, but we were under some shelter. It was still beautiful, still nice, still had good food. We just were not able to do the bonfire ceremony, which made me really sad. And I admit to you all, I went to my room and had a little moment, had a little hissy fit, got it out of my system, regrouped, and went back. And that was fine because we still had a great night. Everybody was super tired from traveling. And so it worked out that I didn't actually push them. One amazing thing happened that evening, though. There was a little break in the rain, and the manager of the facility ran up to me and he said, Ran, there's something happening. There's something happening. And first I thought he meant something like bad, and I got scared. But really, he was like, our friend is releasing sea turtles. So, quick side note, you know, what we're used to and what a lot of, places, sea turtles lay their eggs, they stay in the sand, and when they hatch or whatever, when they're ready, they crawl out and they run to the sea, you know? And it's really a very cool thing to witness. Well, what happens in this area is that apparently people dig up and steal the eggs. And so there's a man that lives right next to the venue that when he sees the turtles, leaving eggs, he goes and collects them and takes care of them. And then when they're ready, he releases them so that nobody else can steal them. So I guess that's not stealing them because he's releasing them. I think people steal them and then sell them. So he tries to save them from that. So anyway, they were ready to go. And so all of the people that were there at this point, we got to run out and help release them into the ocean. And I thought that was really special. That was bonus. I didn't order that, but it was a bonus. So anyway, we all went to bed. The next morning we started with a boot camp, and they don't have like dumbbells and barbells and things like that, but they have rocks and they have logs and barbells and dumbbells made out of tree parts. And so I set up a circuit for everybody, and that was really fun. Everybody showed up. We had a great time. And at the end, I said, "You guys, I had a vision. How about we make a human pyramid?" And they all looked at me like I was totally crazy. But guess what they did? They built a human pyramid. They just did it. It was awesome. It was so awesome. Now, it wasn't like a giant one, but it was still a big deal because when you're, over 40, and by the way, there was only one person under 40. No, there was two people under 40. My bad. But the rest of us were over 40, some over 60. So, to ask them to build a pyramid on top of each other, for them to even do it is super cool. So people were stepping 100% out of their comfort zone and trying new things, which was exactly what it was meant for. Very, very happy about that. So anyway, after that, we went immediately over to the yoga shala, which is this round wood platform, basically right off the ocean, right? You can like sit on it and see. You've probably seen it in my pictures. If you've seen any of my pictures on Instagram or Facebook, it's beautiful. So there's like cliffs and then there's rocks and the crashing waves and there's surfers and it's beautiful. And then there's these certain birds that are just singing along and they have peacocks walking around. I know, random, totally random, but kind of cool at the same time. Not to mention the iguanas and the little lizards and it's so cool. It's total nature. So anyway, we went and did breath work. So breath work is one of my newer services. If you've not done it with me, you've got to try it. It's such an amazing way to get out of your crazy busy mind, drop into your body and just feel and be present and calm. It's wonderful for helping reducing your stress hormones. It's wonderful for helping you sleep. It's wonderful for helping you really listen to your true self. And because we were on the Authentic Awakening retreat, we did a lot of breath work, a lot of meditation, a lot of presence to clear away what doesn't belong and really focus in on what you truly desire. So I call it the sun. We were pushing the clouds away from the sun and letting our sun shine fully. So anyway, we did the breath work. We had breakfast. I'll tell you about the food in a second. After breakfast, we went immediately into workshops. And the workshops were all about that, all about how do we become our true self? Why are we not our true self? And then we did some exercises and journal prompts to help really each individual person there work on their personal situation. So I gave a broad topic, but then each individual is able to tailor it to their own personal situation. And I love, 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 love that. Did I mention I love that? Right? So after that, we had lunch. I did private coaching sessions. When you're away and you're able to like just let go and think, I like to be there for the people who need somebody just to hold space. When somebody can truly hold space from you and not stop you from talking or not give advice or not interrupt you or act bored with you or whatever. Like a lot of our friends, they don't mean to. Our friends, our family, they try to protect us. So sometimes they don't allow us to feel fully. So as a coach, and my goal during this whole week was to allow people to be exactly who they are unapologetically. And that I truly believe that every single person was able to do that. So some of the coaching sessions, not everybody did one. I was able to just hold space for them to be who they are and work some things out verbally. So that was so awesome to me. We after like the free time and the coaching sessions, we had lunch. It literally felt like we were constantly meeting each other back at the table for lunch. So there was one big long table that they reserved for just us. At the center, there was other people just on vacation, but we were the biggest group there. But they saved the big table for us. And I will tell you what, I felt I was constantly ordering food and constantly meeting back at the table. We were so busy and engaged that it felt like time was just flying by. So we kept ending up back at the table. And so I want to just tell you about the food there. This was such a unique situation. I've been to so many retreats and things like this where you just eat whatever they have, whatever they've chosen the caterer to bring. The cool thing about this place is that they just have a restaurant and we got to order anything we wanted off the restaurant at each meal. And that's a huge bonus too, because, if you don't like whatever the meal is that is chosen, then you get to choose something else. So it's just like there was smoothies, there was breakfast bowls. My favorite was a quinoa breakfast bowl. It was like quinoa, I don't remember. Quinoa, avocado, tomatoes, egg, bacon, and then there's this green sauce that is just amazing. I put it on everything, everything, everything. I'm totally in withdrawal from this green sauce. But anyway, super good food, super good tacos, chicken, fish, shrimp. I ate so many shrimp tacos that I'm surprised they weren't coming out of my ears. So anyway, that the food was amazing. Their smoothies were good. They even let me bring my protein powder to put into the smoothies because I will not eat a smoothie without protein powder. So I loved that. They were very accommodating. It was so awesome. So I'm just going to fast forward. The next day, Wednesday, we did, oh, I'm sorry, on Tuesday, while I was doing some coaching sessions, the rest of the group actually went out and did some trash cleanup on the beach. Some of these countries like this have a hard time managing their trash. And so where Mazada sits, there's actually a river that comes in right down like the side of it that comes to the ocean. And what happens is upriver, upstream, people their trash gets dumped in the river, and so then it floats down, and then it just ends up on the beach. And I think this is such a big problem. It's not just a problem there, all over the world. And so, there's a lot of people that go around to different beaches and do trash cleanup. It's like an actual thing. And so some of the ladies that came to my retreat are really big into that. And so they encouraged everyone else to go do it. Loved that. They were able to have some local people help them, some kids that really enjoyed it. In fact, Brian has a funny story. One of the kids, his name is Juan, and he was carrying the trash bag and he was pointing at trash to Brian and telling him to pick it up. And Brian just got the biggest kick out of that. He was like, wait a minute, who's doing the work here? Like, it was just a really funny situation. But we have some great pictures of them with the local kids doing some trash cleanup. And I thought that was amazing. But anyway, fast forward to, Tuesday night, we also had a sound healing bath. So you go lay on the yoga shala and the woman plays bowls and things. I don't know, just different instruments to help the energy in your body. And so the really cool thing is there was a full moon that week. And so we were laying at night during a sound healing bath, looking at the full moon. It was incredible hearing the ocean. I keep dreaming about being back there because it was magnificent. It was just so, so awesome. Wednesday, we had yoga in the morning. I asked the yoga instructor to please give us a butt kicking because I wanted them to get work done and then we were going to immediately go into breath work. So she certainly, I didn't realize she was going to take me so serious. She seriously kicked our butts. It was awesome. I loved it. But anyway, we went into breath work. I was so into the yoga that I was like, oh shoot, I got to do breath work now. So I had to like shift gears super quick. And that was just incredible. I can't tell you, but that was one of my favorite breath work sessions because we did some really cool and kind of weird stuff, but everybody's going to remember it. It was definitely, definitely a memorable part of the retreat. And I'm just so thrilled. So hopefully you'll come on the next one and get to experience that same event. Um, Later that day on Wednesday, we actually went into El Tunco, which is popular for surfing. So they actually have the World Surf League goes there, the WSL. I have never heard of that until I was on this trip. So if you are into surfing, you maybe have heard of that. But it's a really cute little town with a bunch of little restaurants and bars and little shops. And so we went into town. We spent a couple hours there. We did a little shopping. I bought a few, cute bracelets and things like that. I bought a dream catcher and it's just super cute, just fun stuff. And then we went to a popular bar called La Bonita. Now, I will tell you that this trip was not about drinking. This trip was about true inner health, listening to yourself. Technically, alcohol is something we call a firefighter or something that distracts or puts out your emotions. And so I wasn't really big on drinking a lot during this week. However, when we went into town and we went to this popular bar, we learned about cholas. Chola is just a big beer. And so, because we were at a bar and we were learning about this, we were like, when in Rome, go for it. So we did have a few drinks. We had a great time. We came back into town. Some of the kids, they're not kids. Some of the participants did not go with us and they stayed back and did the hot sauna and cold plunge, which was amazing. Some people stayed and got massages. So it really was a, free day to do whatever. But after dinner, it was the kind of our last night that for time for me to do something. So we went out back to the yoga shala and we did a full moon ceremony. And I can't tell you about the ceremony because that's one of those secret things, but we had a really amazing time. The moon over the ocean was incredible. And it made this amazing ring around. It was like I actually posted a picture and someone said, "Oh, it's cool how your camera made the ring." And I'm like, "No, it wasn't the camera. It was in the sky. It had this bright white ring that was just all around. And then these like glowing, it was, I don't know, I can't explain it. It was incredible. And so that was a really cool thing. We hung out on the yoga shala, did our full moon ceremony, rested, and then just went to bed. And that night there was a major storm. It was scary. It just was really loud thunder, is what I mean. It wasn't even like windy or it wasn't bad. It's just you could tell the lightning was very close, very, very close. Then Thursday, we went back to when they got up, was, we did Tuesday workout, Wednesday yoga, Thursday was workout again, and only four people showed up because they were sore. They were tired physically, emotionally, spiritually. We've been really working a lot. So even though I'm telling you all the fun stuff, there was a lot of inner work going on. There was a lot of, um, thinking and contemplating and being curious about aspects of their life that, maybe no longer belong. And so, there's some people that attended this that are really ready for change. And so that can take a lot of energy to be working on what you want your life to look like. So Thursday morning, it was a quiet group, I got to tell you that. But we had a good time. Those of us that showed up, we worked out with big rocks. And I'll tell you what, you hold a rock to do your weights, squats, twists, tricep presses, shoulder presses. It was a workout. I got actually pretty sore from it. So after that workout, we went to breath work and where everybody showed up. We had an awesome breath work. We went into our final workshop and had such a great response. One thing I've left out is we did take time to do small groups where I broke the bigger group into smaller groups where they got to share what was going on. They gave each other, again, they held space for each other. They listened, they made them be seen and heard. And that was so important. And that's how our group got really close, as they really opened up and helped each other feel valuable, feel seen. That was really amazing. So I'm going to fast forward to we had a couple more things, but I'm going to finish with this. We were able to do a ceremony, an ancient Mayan ceremony called the Temescal. The Temescal is representative of Mother Earth's uterus. So it's actually this like dome-like building. It's actually a brick building. And what you do is you go into the uterus, basically is what it is, like Mother Earth's womb. basically. And the whole idea of the ceremony is to release what no longer belongs to you spiritually, mentally, physically, emotionally, and be rebirthed so that you can live the life that you desire. And so that, it was really crazy because I knew they had that, but it wasn't ready when I went for my pre-retreat visit. They were still building it. It wasn't really a service offered yet. And so it was something I added later when they were finished. And I didn't realize how perfect it was. I mean, that was kind of an accident, just to be totally honest, because all of the work that we had done up until that Thursday night was exactly perfect because that's exactly what we were working on. We were recognizing what we truly, our true selves really desire, what path we want to be on, what we need to get rid of, what we need to change. And so to finish the retreat with this ceremony couldn't have been more perfect. Like, I was shocked. I mean, I knew it was going to be cool. Like, I thought it'd be cool and fun, but I didn't understand the impact. And so, not everybody did it, and it's fine because what it is basically a sweat lodge. And so, there's lava rocks that they throw water on, and it's super hot. I mean, I don't know the number, like 130 degrees, 140, maybe very, very, very hot and steamy. And it's in a dark, closed in place, which I'm very claustrophobic. And so I will admit to you, we went into the ceremony. We were in there for about 30 seconds and I lost it and I had to run out. I ran out. I couldn't breathe. I was panicking. I felt claustrophobic and scared. And I was also super embarrassed because I signed all these people up for this and I can't even do it. I felt really ashamed, but the translator, so the man running it spoke all in Spanish, and so they had a translator come in, and she came out after me and asked me what was wrong, and I was like, "Oh." And so she talked me into coming back and just sitting by the door so that if I needed to go, I could just go fast. And I knew in my head that it was all in my head. Like I was safe to be in this place. I could leave anytime I wanted. And so I just had to get a grip. I just had to get a grip on my mind and the stories. But when I was really honest with myself, everybody else had been doing all this inner work, but I had not because I was helping others do their inner work. But meanwhile, I was giving my energy to them and not reserving it for myself. So when I went into this place, I really was not prepared for it. But I have to say, I'm very proud that everyone else was prepared. We had done the work, they had done the work to get to the point where they could be mentally strong enough to stay through the ceremony. And I'm not going to tell you about the ceremony because it is kind of secret and sacred, and it won't make sense anyway if I tell you about it. But this was supposed to be a 45-minute ceremony. And because our group was so involved and did it, it actually ended up being 2 hours long. And they told us after, the leader and just other people working there, that most groups aren't able to stay that long, and that most groups either don't finish it or most people leave the ceremony before it's done. And they agreed that it's because we had been doing the right kind of inner work, inner healing, to be able to actually experience the true ceremony. So I was so proud of that. And I did make it, even though I had a little moment in the beginning. I'm sure everybody was so mad at me. They're like, "What did you get us into? And you're leaving." I was really embarrassed, and then I got over it and I went in and we did it and it was so incredible and I'm so glad that I did it. And I don't know that I need to do it again with a group, but I wanted to know exactly what they were experiencing. So if I decided to do it again with another group, I would understand it. And now I understand it and I'm so, so happy. And, after the ceremony, they had a bunch of fruit and coconut water and stuff for us because you are sweating like you've never sweat in your entire life. Like every single pore in your body is like like water pouring out. And this is good because it's a physical detox, it's a mental, spiritual, physical detox. And I will say, I know that when I woke up Friday morning, I felt, well, I was super proud. I was super proud of what had been accomplished. I was super proud of all of the people participating. I was super proud of like doing this. But there was another layer of like clarity and strength that I have not felt in a really long time. And I will tell you, since returning, I feel changed. I feel, mm, I don't know, just so clear and so ready to accomplish more in a different way. So there's a lot of different things coming from me, coming soon, that I think that the messages have been coming in, but I've been denying it because I've been a little scared to shift gears. And I'm no longer scared, and I see the clear path. And so more to come on that. So anyway, you guys, the last morning we had one last little workshop that, again, I can't tell you because it's secret, but it was incredible. And then everybody, went home. And so I want to tell you this. If this sounds like something you need to do, then you do. And it's one of those things where if you have that little inkling inside that says, oh my gosh, I need to experience something like this, then it's absolutely what your true, authentic self needs. If you're listening to this and you're like, oh, that sounds terrible, then it probably isn't going to be something you want to do. And that is totally fine. Okay. Totally fine. But if you've gotten this far and you're still listening and you think it sounds terrible, I don't know if I believe you. You probably haven't made it this far in the conversation if you think it sounds terrible. So here's the deal. Here's what's going to change next time. Next time, I'm adding a day. In fact, I've already signed the contract for the next one. It's going to be in January of 2026. So over a year from the time of this recording, at least. And I'm going to add a day. We're going to have an extra night because the first and the last day are so short. Even though I thought that would be like enough, it really wasn't. We need one more night, so we have another full day. I also am going to add space in between all of the workshops and the breath work and the breakfast because it really was crammed in. And I recognize that. But from feedback from the participants, that even the ones that loved it, they were like, you know what, but we could use a little more time to process because and I agreed with that. I felt it too. I personally needed more space. I personally needed more rest. And so I know for a fact they did too. But with that extra day, it's going to allow that. And so it's an extra day. So good. We definitely need it. It's going to be a Monday to a Saturday instead of Monday to Friday. So awesome. Extra time throughout the day. Um, I am going to keep the temescal because it's super important to do, but I'm also going to add in a couple other little things that I don't want to tell you yet because they have to be a surprise. So I'll tell you right now that I'm going to first open up the doors to only people who went and their referrals. After that point, I will open it up. But if you're hearing this and you think that it's something you really need to do, please email me at RayAnnMullins. Actually, excuse me, RayAnn at RayAnnMullins.com. That's RayAnn at RayAnnMullins.com. Send me an email there and we can book a call just to talk about it, find out, if it's something you really want to do. And the really cool thing is, since we have about a year to plan for it, is I have extended payment plans so I can make it super affordable for you to attend. Um, if there's any other questions, let me know. I am going to actually add a link to the location, Mazada Anti-Resort, so you can check it out. If you don't want to go on the retreat, but the place sounds cool, then check it out. Book your own time there. They have all kinds of really cool things. It's beautiful. They have tree houses you can stay in, or jungle bungalows, or beachfront bungalows. So at my next retreat, I actually got a variety of rooms. This time, everybody stayed in the tree houses, which is they're like the highest level. But I personally stayed in a bungalow and I loved it. So I decided to open up the bungalows as well to other people and not just tree houses. So there's going to be a variety of rooms, extra day. All the bells and whistles are still included, all the food, the stay, the workshops, the temescal, a trip into town, and maybe even a trip to the volcano. So let me know if you would like to go. Thank you guys so much for spending time to listen about this. I'm super excited to have the podcast going again. I want to hear from you. What do you want to hear about? Do you have anybody that I need to talk to? Let's, make this podcast the best it can be. Thank you again, and I will catch you next week. Bye-bye.